Good morning, students. Hope all of you are fine. We have completed few lessons, few poems and the other chapters. And today we begin the 6th lesson of your English literature, The Old Sea Dog. Actually, this is an extract from Treasure Island, a classic tale about a treasure hunt. Okay, I do not know whether you have seen this book. If you have seen, if you have any chance to read it, children, it's very good book to read for like you young children who are so adventurous. It is written by Robert Louis Stevenson. He is a Scottish novelist and a poet. And he is also the author of Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Kidnapped. So he is one of the most translated authors of the world, very well-known figure. Okay, and then his novels are, it is known for its adventurous events. And this is one of the, it is actually the introductory part of the novel called Treasure Island. This lesson is all about what you are going to read. It is an introduction of the central character of the novel, Jim Hawkins. The chapter begins with Jim telling the readers that he has been asked to write everything about the Treasure Island except its location. So we come to know there is some kind of hideouts which they don't want to reveal, but his friends are requesting him to write about Treasure Island. And as you read, you will come to know the first part is about, we are being introduced about the Squire Trelawney, Dr. Livesey, and others who knew, okay, who are trying to persuade Jim to write about the Treasure Island. And then we come to know a captain comes into the story as a villain, and then how he is taking residence in the inn run by Jim. So this is the whole story about, and what is the role of Dr. Livesey. So this is the story. This is the small portion or the extract from Treasure Island that you are going to learn. It's very interesting. And then you see, take your textbook, children, on page 58. Few words are given. These are different parts of a ship. Have you taken the book, children? Have you seen? There are few words like near about 6-7 words are there. Crow's nest, deck, bow, gunwale, hem, keel and mast. So these are some of the words you may not know, and you are first time hearing some of the words like deck. You may be aware of it, but the other words are must, you may know, but a few words are uncommon, so it's good that you learn about. Actually, crow's nest, what is it, children? Crow's nest is a shelter. It's a shelter or a platform fixed to the masthead of a vessel as a place for a lookout to stand. Okay, like a sit out or stand out where you are able to watch. That is called crow's nest, a platform fixed on the masthead of a vessel or a ship. And what is deck? Deck, you are you know it, isn't it? It is floor of a ship, especially the upper open level extending for the full length of the vessel. Now, what is a bow? Bow is the forward part of the hull, the point that is usually most forward when the vessel is underway. It is the part which is being projected, okay? And gunwale, what is a gunwale? Gunwale is the upper edge or planking of the side of a boat or a ship. Upper edge of a boat. And hem, what is hem? Hem is a wheel for steering a ship or a boat. A wheel. Now, what is keel? Keel is the lengthwise timber or a steel structure along the base of a ship supporting the framework of the whole. It is like a support, like a framework. It is a lengthwise timber. Okay, lengthwise timber or a steel structure. Now, what is mast? Mast is a tall upright post, spar or other structure on a ship or boat, generally carrying sail or sails. So these are some part of the ship, since we are going to read about the captain and the ship and people who live by the sea. It's good that you know little about the ship. Now the here we are also introduced by the name of the inn. What is the name of the inn? If you have read once, you will come to know. The name of the inn is owned by Jim's father was Admiral Benho. Admiral Benho Inn. And the inn was isolated, not many customers were visited, and it had a view of the sea and a hidden cove. That is why the captain stayed back at the inn. So he was happy. We will come to know how the captain comes in and asking for a shelter and how he stays back long. Actually, at least 3 to 4 gold coins are to be paid if you want to reside in the inn, and how this captain gets into all these things will come to know as you read by. Okay, so please take the page 58. Squire Trelawney, Dr. Livesey, and the rest of these gentlemen, having asked me to write down the whole particulars about the treasure island from the beginning to the end, I take up my pen to do their bidding. I go back to the time when my father kept the Admiral Benbow Inn, and the brown old seaman with a saber cut first took up his lodging under our roof. So we are given an introduction why he is planning to pen down the events about the treasure island. And then what is happening with the Jim? Jim is going back to the time when his father was running the inn named Admiral Benbow. And the incident that took place about the captain, who is that brown old seaman with the saber cut, first took up his lodging under our roof. How this old captain took up residence in the inn run by his father. And what is the name of the inn? Admiral Benbow. And who are the ones who asked him to write the treasure island? They are Squire Trelawney, Dr. Livesey, and other rest of the gentlemen. They have asked him to write. I remember him. Whom? I remember the old seaman with the saber cut. I remember him as if it were yesterday. As if it were yesterday means it is so very clear to me that all that events that took place much years back is before me, as if it took place just yesterday. As he came plodding to the inn door, his sea chest following behind him in a hand barrow, a tall, strong, heavy, nut brown man, his starry pigtail falling over the shoulder of his soiled blue coat, his hands ragged and scarred, with the black broken nails and the saber cut across one cheek, a dirty livid white. I remember him looking round the cover and whistling to himself as he did so. And he rapped on the door with a bit of a stick that he carried, and when my father appeared, called roughly for a glass of rum. And this is all about the entry of the so-called man, brown old seaman with a saber cut on his cheek. Now, what happened? Saber means what, children? Saber is a sword with a curved blade. So the man who appeared in front of the inn had a cut by the sword on his cheek. So Jim remembers everything so crystal clear, and the events are so alive in his memory. So he came plodding. Plodding means walking slowly with heavy steps. His sea chest following behind him in a hand barrow, a tall, strong, heavy, nut brown man, his starry pigtail falling over the shoulder of his soiled blue coat. So, this is the description of this seaman. Okay, how does he look? He is very tall man, very strong, very heavy, and his color is nut brown, and his hair is a tarry pigtail. Means tar, you know, isn't it? Very sticky thing. Pigtail, tarry pigtail. Pigtail means it's a braided plait of hair falling over the shoulder of his soiled blue coat. So he was not looking neat. His coat was also soiled, dirty. A dirty, livid white. Okay, now what's that? His hands ragged and scarred. Okay, what is that? His hands also had scars on it with the black broken nails. His nails were also not neatly trimmed, and the saber cut across the knee, cheek. A dirty, livid white. He was looking like a dirty, livid means angry white man. I remember him looking round the cover and whistling to himself as he did so. So his way of standing was that he used to be whistling himself. Okay. Then he rapped on the door with a bit of stick, and then he angrily bang or knocked on the door with a stick in his hand. And what did he do? As his father appeared, as Jim's father appeared, he asked for a glass of rum. "This is a handy cough," said he at length. "Much company, mate?" So he introduced himself as, this is a handy cough means a hatred harbor. And then he asked if they have any other customers in the inn. Is there any more customers in the inn? Do I have any more company in the inn? My father told him, no, very little company. The more was the pity. So he said, we don't have many and we don't expect many customers in the inn. And he just wanted to show that his business is not running so very good. He does not have many customers. Well then, said he, this is the berth for me. I will stay here a bit. Yes, berth for me means a place to. Berth is meant for what? To sleep or sit. So he says, this is the place for me to take my rest. He continued, you might call me captain. So he said, you can call me captain. He threw down 3 or 4 gold pieces on the threshold. He did not give. On the threshold, he threw 3 or 4 gold pieces. You can tell me when I worked through that, said he, looking as fierce as a commander. So he looked so fierce, so as an angry, livid means angry man. He looked at his father and said, when you run off with the money that I am providing, you can ask me for. I can provide you more money, but I am going to reside in your inn. He was not at all polite. He was an uncouth man with the less mannerisms. He was a very silent man by custom. Ordinarily, this man was a silent man. All day he hung round the cove or upon the cliffs with a brass telescope. All evening he sat in a corner of the parlour next to the fire and drank rum and water. Mostly he would not speak when spoken to, only look up sudden and fierce, and blow through his nose like a foghorn. And we and the other people who came about our house soon learned to let him be. So this is all about his how he is and what is his mannerisms. So by custom he is a silent man, and he used to be moving around the cove and the cliff of the mountain, and then he had a telescope with him looking for someone. So this is a curious picture of him, that he is in want of someone. He is in search of someone. That is why he is carrying a telescope. Telescope is used, to see the far away things close to you. So this man has some hidden agendas in staying in the inn. We come to know by way of his approaches and the thing that he is carrying, that is the telescope, why he is carrying all the way, that he is curious about the approach of someone. He is very much want of or looking for someone for whom he is frightened, or he wanted to take revenge. We do not know exactly. We'll come to know later. And then mostly he does not speak to everyone. He used to be sitting at the corner in the parlor next to the fire, and he used to be drinking all day rum and water. And whenever he is spoken to, he would suddenly look at them, or he would blow through his nose. And we, the people who came about our house, soon learned to let him be. So everyone started to just ignore him and let him be whatever he is. Nobody bothered him. Okay, it became a usual custom for everyone to watch this man sitting in the corner of the parlor and drinking rum and water. And then people started not bothering about the existence of this man in the inn. Every day when he came back from his stroll, he would ask if any seafaring men had gone by along the road. At first we thought it was the want of company of his own kind that made him ask this question. But at last we began to see he was desirous to avoid them. He had taken me aside one day and promised me a silver fourpenny on the first of every month if I would only keep my eye open for a seafaring man with one leg, and let him know the moment he appeared. So here we come to know why this man was always carrying a telescope, and he was looking for someone. He was searching for someone. And he used to inquire the others that if they came across or encountered with a seafaring man on the road or alongside. And not only that, he asked Jim to take watch over a seafaring man with one leg. And then he was ready to pay to Jim if he would take a watch, or if he make vigilance upon this seafaring one-legged man. So we come to know there is some hidden agenda in the stay of Mr. Captain in the inn. Now, what is seafaring men means? People who makes their living through the sea. Okay, they are called seafaring men. Any other words which are unknown to you children? I think this is okay. Now, but though I was so terrified by the idea of the seafaring man with one leg, I was far less afraid of the captain himself than anybody else who knew him. So actually, when Jim heard that he should take a vigil, or he should be looking for a seafaring man with one leg, the idea itself frightened him. But even that was less fearful than dealing with the captain himself. And so it was not a frightening job for him. And so he agreed to go on errand or do this job for Mr. Captain. His stories were what frightened people worst of all. Whose stories? The captain's stories were frightening ones. Dreadful stories they were, about hanging, walking the plank, and storms at sea. So these were the topics of the stories said by the captain. So very dreadful and frightening stories. They were all about hanging, walking the plank, and the storms at See, these are all ghostly stories which would frighten anyone. And so people listened to his stories, but they were always so dreadful and dangerous. My father was always saying the inn would be ruined, for people would soon cease coming there to be tyrannized over and sent shivering to their beds. But I really believe his presence did us good. Actually, his father thought that his inn is ruined because of the presence of the captain, because he used to be telling dreadful stories and the people were tyrannized. Means, what is the meaning of tyrannized? They to treat someone unfairly using your power. So the captain used to frighten the people, and so he thought he would have less number of customers in the inn. But according to Jim, what he believed, but I really believe his presence did us good. People were frightened at the time, but on looking back, they rather liked it. Older people were frightened about his stories, but people were happy to listen to it. They liked his stories. It was a fine excitement in a quiet country life. So they were living in a very peaceful country. Okay, very village life. Okay, and so the presence of this captain was something so exciting for the peace loving men of the village, and so people used to come to listen to captain and his dreadful stories. It was a fine excitement in quiet country life, and there was even a party of the younger men who pretended to admire him, calling him a true sea dog and a real old salt and such like names. So not only that people liked his stories, they also a group of youngsters made a party, and they pretend to admire the captain, and they were calling him what all names? True sea dog, a real old salt. So these were the like names they called the old man, the sea dog, the captain. Okay. In one way, indeed, he bade fair to ruin us, for he kept on staying week after week, and at last month after month, so that all the money had been long exhausted, and still my father never plucked up the heart to insist on having more. Now, what is that? In one way, indeed, he bade fair to ruin us. Now, he started ruin the inn, Mr. Jim and his father, because he was not getting out of the inn. Day after day, they thought few days he would stay, few months he would stay, but he kept on staying without paying a penny, because he ran loss of his money and there was not much money to give to the innkeeper, and so their business was in ruin. Had been long exhausted means he did not have any money to pay, and still my father never plucked up the heart to insist on having more. So his father never took courage to ask the captain to give more payment to more rent for the stay of the captain. If ever he mentioned it, the captain blew through his nose so loudly that you might say he roared and stared my poor father out of the room. So, if at all his father would ask for the rent, this man would blow him out. Okay, even his blowing through the nose is like a roar of a lion, and then he would chase his father away. All the time he lived with us, the captain made no change whatever in his dress, but to buy some stockings from a hawker. So, all the time he stayed in the inn, he remained with the same coat, the blue coat, the dirty blue coat. He never changed, but only he bought some stockings from a hawker. I remember the appearance of his coat, which he patched himself upstairs in his room, and which before the end was nothing but patches. So the man did not have an extra coat, he was patching the old torn coat, patches after patcher, and at the end the coat had only patches. The coat had nothing but patches. He never wrote or received a letter, which shows that he did not have a family, none to care for. Nobody wrote to him, and he never wrote to anyone. And he never spoke with any but the neighbors. He never spoke to anybody but the neighbors of the inn. And with these, for the most part, only when drunk on rum, the great sea chest none of us had ever seen open. Okay, so only when he is drunk, he used to open his mouth and share something, but otherwise, he used to be a closed man. He never opened himself, and nobody knew what he really is. We'll stop here. I think it's a lengthy one. We'll complete it in the next class. Read it. Read it once, twice. If you have some doubts, you could put me a message that I can give you a little bit more of analysis of it. So for today, all the best. Read the lesson. It's an interesting lesson. Okay, and if at all you are able to get a treasure island, get it and read it for yourself. It's very interesting. God bless you. Take care, stay home, and stay safe. God bless you, children. Thank you.